Famous billionaire investor and vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, Charlie Munger, believes that the first $100,000 is the hardest on the road to wealth. It's not just him, though. Most people think saving their first $100,000 is one of the most challenging milestones to achieve. Building wealth is typically a slow process, especially when you're just starting out. So when you start from literally zero, you don't have money already working for you and helping you to amass more wealth. We will now reveal the real reason why Charlie Munger believes it's so hard to achieve your first $100,000 and the next one is easy. And believe us, this will change your life forever. So why is the first $100,000 the hardest? Charlie Munger famously stated, "The first $100,000 is a bit." And that's difficult to argue with for folks attempting to accomplish this level of investment or saving milestone. But why is getting from 0 to 100,000 so much harder than moving from 100,000 to 200,000 or even to the $1 million mark? Well, saving or investing your first $100,000 is always challenging since, at this point in your financial life, you have very little money in the market generating additional money through compounding interest. Also, you've got to work hard and extra at times and sell your time in order to generate or accumulate that kind of money. Once you hit the $100,000 landmark, the next one is right around the corner. And it seems to take a fraction of the time as the first. Because when you actually have $100,000 to work with, you're finally able to take more risks and invest in various opportunities, all of which yields a better return, leading to more wealth. So if saving the first $100,000 is as difficult as it appears, what actions can we take today to make this period simpler and launch ourselves onto an exciting wealth-building path over time? Well, the initial $100,000 is the most difficult to save or invest for two reasons. The first is self-evident. In general, our savings rise as we age. Thus, it stands to reason that we'll have no savings while we're still young. Moreover, most people who leave school are unlikely to make a lot of money, either through official work or entrepreneurial activities, which means there's little money to save. When it comes to saving and investing, it's critical to create as large a surplus as possible between your total income and total costs. This extra money can be saved or invested as needed. We often have little yearly income at the outset of our professional lives, and while our costs are often low at this age, it's difficult to generate much of a surplus. As a result, it becomes extremely difficult to contribute considerable sums to our savings or investment accounts. For a while, many people are trapped in a paycheck-to-paycheck cycle in which they obtain an income from their employment and then spend nearly all of it on their different living expenses. You should avoid making unnecessary expenses when you start earning more. Now, the second factor is less obvious but far more powerful, which is compounding or compound interest. You might be wondering, well, what is that? Well, let's make it easy for you. It's the compound effect of the amount you have invested or saved over time until it reaches a certain threshold where you have more money in your bank. It's your money working for you, generating more money. When you have some amount invested, it's simple to grow your wealth because you're generating a return on investment each year. However, if you begin with zero, you've got very little money in the market earning a return and can't fully profit from the principles of compounding. So how can I save and invest my first $100,000 more quickly? To save your first $100,000 faster, you must raise your surplus between income and spending. This can be accomplished by either increasing your income or decreasing your spending. For people aiming to save money quickly, the savings rate percentage, total savings divided by total income, should be a crucial statistic. For most people, cutting spending is the simplest and quickest approach to raising their surplus, as most of us have some extra fat in our monthly budgets that can be cut. Furthermore, if you're working, if possible, consider working from home more frequently to save money on transportation and lunch. While cutting your spending is the simplest approach to raising your surplus, it's not the most successful since there's always a limit to how low you can cut your expenses before feeling starved. Increasing your revenue is the most successful and efficient method. Assume you have a yearly income of $60,000 and annual expenses of $55,000. This leaves you with a $5,000 excess to save. Sure, you could decrease your spending by a few $1,000s to boost it, or you could find a way to get promoted at work and earn $70,000 per year, which would have a considerably greater impact. So here are some suggestions to improve your income. Number 1, focus on gaining a skill which is in demand. For example, video editing or copywriting. You can even go freelance and earn some extra bucks and start a side hustle. 2, take the essential actions to advance at work. 3, perform successfully at work in order to receive annual wage increases and bonuses at the highest level. 4, consider taking up a part-time job to augment your income, such as coaching a football team or babysitting in your neighborhood some evenings. 5, start a secondary project or company in the evenings and on weekends. 6, you can also consider reselling or flipping. You can gain this skill with the help of the internet, thanks to sites like YouTube, Udemy, and Skillshare, helping you to earn some extra money. Simply put, the sooner you save or invest $100,000, the more money you can make, and you'll make that money much more easily than ever before. But what should I do with my first $100,000? After you've earned your first $100,000 in cash, the two things you want to do are 1, protect yourself from excessive losses, let's say unnecessary expenses or luxuries, and 2, continue to invest and grow this amount into multiples. Don't take risks that could result in massive losses. Once you see that an investment strategy is working for you and it's the right asset that you've invested in, then you can invest larger quantities to generate better returns. But note that it's always better to diversify your investment. Similarly, make sure when investing in real estate that the land or property you're investing in would grow in value. What's more, when buying a property, make sure that the rent covers the cost of repaying the loan and that there's also an additional amount left over to pay for any repairs and maintenance. So you see, there are two ways you could make money through real estate. 1, you can buy a property or a piece of land, then wait for its price to increase until you flip or sell it at a higher price. Or 2, you buy a property and rent it to a tenant to earn profits through rental income. However, it's imperative to critically evaluate the investment opportunity and check what's going on in the market before putting your money in. Don't speculate on items that have little intrinsic worth. Don't gamble with your money. Instead, make your selections while keeping the risk-reward ratio in mind. A low-cost index fund on an internet platform is an ideal option for your initial investment. While everyone's goals and risk tolerances are different, this is a solid investing starting point that exposes investors to an acceptable degree of risk. The first step in saving or investing your first $100,000 is to start from less. Let's say $500 and create good investing habits early on. You should split the savings in safe investments and more risky investments. For example, 10% of the savings should be on more risky investments, while the rest can be on safe ones. With this in mind, starting with your first investable cash is an excellent idea. How long does it take to save $100,000? The time it takes to save $100,000 directly depends on your income and savings rate, total savings, total income. The higher your salary and higher your savings rate, the faster you'll be able to save money and achieve the $100,000 mark. Someone making $80,000 per year is obviously far more capable of saving up to the $100,000 mark than someone earning, say, $50,000 per year. However, overall revenue is not the sole consideration here. Someone earning $80,000 won't be able to save or invest anything if their cost of living is very high due to lifestyle inflation. More on that later. Let's say if person A, earning $80,000 annually, only saves up to $5,000 a year, while person B, earning $50,000, saves up to $10,000 a year. Who will save $100,000 earlier? Well, of course, person B. Now, let's consider another scenario to emphasize the necessity of investing your money as you save rather than leaving it in a bank account. Suppose both person A and person B can save $10,000 per year since they both have a decent salary and a strong savings rate percentage. Person A saves his money in a bank account with a negligible interest rate. As a result, it takes him around 10 years to reach the $100,000 milestone. Person B, on the other hand, invests $10,000 with a 10% return rate. Unlike person A, who needed over 10 years to save $100,000, person B would need less time to hit the same amount. This should emphasize the importance of investing to meet your financial goals. However, the best thing is, you can speed up this process by utilizing the strategies mentioned in this video. Here's a hint: increase your income. So, should I raise my investments when my pay rises? As your pay increases, you should invest more, yes. The key to this is to avoid lifestyle creep, which occurs when your compensation grows while your spending increases at the same rate. So if you maintain your spending consistently, your surplus between income and expenses will grow, allowing you to invest more. But when it comes to investing success, a few aspects are critical. Like, how early do you start investing? What do you invest in? Resisting the impulse to sell at low points, and so on. On the other hand, the value of the contributions you can make to your investment account may have the most impact. So basically, if your pay grows over time, you should be able to contribute more to your investing account, only if you resist the temptation to raise your annual spending in proportion to your wage growth. How long does it take most individuals to save $100,000? While it's heavily dependent on your income and spending, it's quite feasible to save $100,000 by the age of 30 or even earlier. This will, of course, be dependent on your ability to generate a solid living while keeping your spending reasonable. It's also worth remembering that saving $100,000 in the U.S. might have quite different consequences depending on where you live. Someone with $100,000 of savings living in New York will find it more difficult to save because of the higher cost of living, compared to someone with $50,000 of savings living somewhere with a lower cost of living, such as in portions of Eastern Europe or South America. So when it comes to accumulating $100,000, there are several factors to consider. Additionally, you should consider your projected time period for investing possibilities and the risks you're prepared to face in exchange for higher returns. Looking at your monthly budget objectively or developing one if you haven't done so yet will help you get back on track. Being mentally disciplined and properly planning are vitally important. The cash will start to pile up if you develop and follow a customized plan that works for you. Next time you're stressed out about the difficulty of increasing your net worth, know that it becomes easier, more enjoyable, and more rewarding as time goes on. Click here to learn how Warren Buffett meticulously explains how to not lose, but make more money during inflation.